In your work, you talk about how to win an argument. And when I say win an argument, I don't really mean an argument. I mean more like, you know, me and my girlfriend are having a conversation.
Yeah.
And I want to get to a good resolution. What are the things I should definitely not do?
Calling out little points that any kind of incorrect information, we wait until the end. We save it.
Okay.
So if I'm in an argument with someone and they're calling me out for doing something I clearly didn't do, I'll wait. I want to wait.
Why?
Because they get diffused. Now we want them to get that out first. But right away, as soon as possible, in any argument like this, I want to establish, like, do we have a similar common ground? What common ground do we share? And do we want a similar outcome? And I might even ask that question, be like, really quick, do we both want the same thing from this discussion? And I would never call it an argument. So the moment that we redirect on, this is the outcome I want, instead of I need to win an argument, because when we're in a fight, we tend to think I intellectually need to conquer this conversation and I need to be right. And if I can be right, that means I was right.
Mm.
Not winning an argument doesn't mean you were right before or right after. But it's like, what is the ideal outcome for both of us? And I would stop in a business negotiation or whatever. What's ideal for both of us? We both want this same thing. And the ideal outcome for you is this. The ideal outcome for me is this. And I think there's some middle ground here.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the same thing in a relationship. If anything started spinning out of control, the first thing I'm going to think is, I'm going to hear what's not being said. So if my wife was saying, you don't even need to call me. You don't call me anyway when you're on these business trips. I never get phone calls. Do you think she is worried that her phone isn't ringing, or she's worried that she's not being appreciated and not feeling loved? So men especially will tend to say, well, let's open these facts really quick. Pull your phone out. I'm going to show you some missed calls right now. It's not about the calls. I need to hear what's underneath the statements that someone is saying. You need to hear between the lines, just like a behavior profiler. So what's the emotion that's starting here? Is it anger? Is it loneliness? Is it feeling unappreciated? I need to understand what the emotion is behind what someone's saying and address that, and never address exactly what people are saying to try to win an argument. I just posted a video on YouTube 3 days ago it was called the narcissist off switch. And it was how to disarm any narcissist. And there were these very specific methods, but the biggest method of all was to always think about what they are using to get out of you. So if I'm in an argument, is someone using fear, obligation, or guilt? And that acronym spells FOG. So am I going to get in trouble, or can I recognize when somebody is using fear, obligation, and guilt? And if someone is doing any of those things, I want to call it out in a non-confrontational way. So let's say you give me some line about, like, if you don't do this, I'm going to have to work 19 hours next week. So it's never about the hours, and it's guilt, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could say, Stephen, maybe you didn't mean to, but it sounded like you wanted me to feel guilty about me working next week. And I know that you're a good person. I don't think you meant it that way. So I will absolutely call out any fear, obligation, or guilt, always. But I'll call it out in a way that says, maybe you didn't mean this, but it sounded like this is what you were saying right here. And I always want to use that word where it's non-confrontational, and I want to give them an out. So in interrogation training, we always call this the golden bridge. In the art of war, they say, give your opponent a golden bridge on which they can retreat.
Mm-hmm.
So they can retreat across this golden bridge.
Don't trap them in a corner.
Yeah. So we give them an out that's beautiful. So maybe you didn't mean this. And I always want to think about, going back to that, what is the hidden feeling or fear that's behind what they're saying? They're scared of something. They're scared of losing a deal. They're scared of losing money. They're scared of looking a certain way. They're scared of what the people in the room are going to think. So where is the hidden fear in someone's argument? Anytime you're in an argument, there's a level of concealed fear. And just 30, 40 seconds, you can find that. And a lot of people teach this as a tactic, but just stopping and looking at a person after they do that in an argument is so incredibly powerful.
Just stopping and looking at them.
Yeah. So like say you made that statement to me about, I'm going to have to work 19 hours next week. The moment that I stop, it lessens the power of that statement because I'm not stopping as a tactic. I'm choosing to stop because I want to process what you were saying. And that helps people to do that because it feels less awkward as if I'm doing a tactic, I'm doing that thing, but I'm just pausing because I'm going to actually reflect on what you just said. And I'm going to use that time for just a minute. I might look away. I might, as soon as you're done talking, I might say, and I might just take a moment and say, Stephen, maybe I heard this wrong, and go right into that. So that long pause is so effective in conversation, especially when it's meaningful and it's not a tactic.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.